right, Sean Bormet, 5 questions. We're coming off of a bye week, which is, kind of unheard of. I can't remember the last time we've had this in the middle of the Big Ten season. So, what were some of the things that you maybe liked about having that weekend off?
Well, obviously in a Big Ten season like this, you take any circumstances and you use them to your advantage. So for us, we really, we trained the guys, worked a lot of stuff we saw from Rutgers, Illinois, and then we also gave them some recovery over the weekend. So I think it was a great chance for them to sort of reset and recharge their battery a little bit. Um, Training was great, energy was great, the mindset, positivity. I mean, all that stuff was great throughout all the training last week and then really into this week. So I feel like these guys took advantage of that bye weekend, and they're also really excited to get back on the mat Friday night.
Looking back to that last competitive weekend, I know you felt pretty good Friday night after that Rutgers win. We won 6 matches on Illinois. Maybe didn't feel quite as good. But what were some of the positives you took from that Illinois dual win?
There were a lot of positives. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought we rode really hard. We've made some gains in our riding on top, especially with some of our younger guys. We won some really gritty matches that, we weren't wrestling our best. And at the end of the day, like, winning is winning in wrestling. And obviously you always want to have your best performance when you step on the mat, but, getting your hand raised when you don't have your best performance is also a skill, and it's an important one because everything isn't always perfect when you're on the mat, and all the circumstances don't always line up. So finding a way to dig in the real tough moments, even when you're not wrestling your best, to get your hand raised is important. And we did that multiple times in that duel. I also felt like, we had a situation like, 133, Gage, Bero, one of our true freshmen, is wrestling returning national champ, and he's doing the best job he can to stay in that match and stay competitive, and he did a great job, and he actually rode him out the entire third period to prevent bonus points for the team. And those are like the little, sort of little victories within the dual meet and things that guys can really build off of. So there were a lot of great takeaways in that duel, and we also learned a little bit about, a couple of our guys need to adjust some things when they're managing their weight for 2 dual meets in a weekend. So that was sort of our first 2 dual meet weekend like that this second semester. So we learned a lot from that weekend, and I thought the guys really, obviously responded really well this last week in the training afterwards.
I want to ask a follow-up about Gage. He's wrestling, as a true freshman. He's wrestling some tough guys in a tough weight. But man, it just seems like he's been so close to breaking through with a big win, with a ranked win. How have you kind of seen him progress from the start of the season to this point?
Yeah, Gage has got a great attitude, and he wants to win, and he's willing to do the work, and he's super competitive, and he's super talented. So, some of the little areas that he's been working on in our room are the same things we're seeing in these matches. So he's really addressing them. He's getting tougher match by match. He's putting the work in every week, but he's got, just great positivity, and he's super optimistic, and he loves to compete. So he knows as a true freshman, and I think 33 is arguably the toughest weight in the country this year. He knows, and he's excited about these challenges. So, with that kind of mentality and his work ethic, he's just going to keep getting better.
And I only saw the reaction to it. I didn't actually see it yesterday in the practice room. Did he take down KJ in the practice room yesterday?
He reversed KJ.
Okay.
He reversed KJ to his back. And it was something.
Yeah, it was kind of fireworks in the room for about
Yes.
30 seconds. Going back to that Illinois duel, what are some of the things that you and Rutgers and other duels for that matter, that you really focused on in the practice room coming off those weekends?
I mean, it's sort of the theme and so we've been working on this whole season, but coming off those 2 duels specifically is really just wrestle more aggressive, wrestle more free. Getting to our attacks sooner. We're seeing a lot of attacks, but there's no time. We're wrestling tougher competition every weekend, so there's no time to think about it. There's no time to hesitate. You got to set your attacks and go. And so that's been something we've really emphasized and worked on a lot this past week, and just sort of continue to try to unlock their offense and just get them wrestling more aggressive and more free when they're on the mat competing.
All right, we got 2 duels this weekend. We're home Friday night against Northwestern. We're at Ohio State Sunday. Tough team on TV. What do you want to see this weekend?
Aggressive, free, a lot of attacks, fighting and competing and winning the tough moments. And that's sort of what we've been talking about a lot, and that's what we've been doing, and we've been doing it with more consistency, but we still got to keep building. We're facing the toughest stretch of our season. I know we're excited to compete back in Chrysler Center on Friday night against Northwestern, and then we travel to Columbus. And from Columbus, we have Penn State, and then the next week, Iowa. So this is a really important stretch of our season, and we are going to learn a lot about where we're at, individually and as a team, and I couldn't be more excited about this stretch because these are the kind of dual meets you really get guys to rise up and compete, and that's what we're focused on, and we got to take advantage of all these opportunities. It's setting us up for our postseason, so I like the way this unfolded because when you wrestle this kind of tough stretch, your guys are more prepared for what it's like when you get to the Big Ten Conference Tournament and you get to the NCAA Championship. So excited to see how these guys compete. Excited to see how they respond to everything we're going to do over these next 3 weeks. And starts Friday night at Northwestern.
All right, great. Sean, thanks. Go Blue.
Go Blue.